Hey everybody, it's Mr. S, and I'm here to read a very different story that sounds familiar, but it's not. The Three Little Pigs, an architectural tale. Now, my class, we're talking about architecture this following week, so I thought I would read a book about architecture, but with a familiar twist to it. So, what part of the book is this? Front cover, spine, back cover. The writer is the author, and the person that does the pictures is the illustrator, and the person that makes the book is the publisher. And these, of course, are called the pages. Alright, and one last one. Is this paperback or hardcover? I would say hardcover. Alright, The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs who lived in a big house in the forest. One day, the three pigs said goodbye to their mother and went off their way in the world. So they lived in this big house here, and then they're like, well, I think it's time for us to go. So they're like, they try to leave. The first little pig decided to build his house of scraps. Now, scraps are like leftover parts. So, if we're like, what is a scrap? Scraps are like the leftovers. So he looked at leftover. It's kind of like recycling, which there's nothing wrong with that. Recycling is good. The second little pig decided to build his house of glass. So we see glass at our houses. We see glass in other places. And sometimes glass can be made out of jars. Windows are made out of glass. So he's going to build his whole house out of glass. But the third little pig decided to build his house of stone and concrete. Stone and concrete. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Now there was an evil wolf who lived in the woods nearby. One day he came to the house of the first little pig and said, little pig, let me come in." But the pig answered, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." Which, I don't have any hair, but if there was, I'd be playing with it. Oh, look how scared the pig looks. He looks very scared. And the wolf looks very mean. He's an evil pig. I mean pig. He's an evil wolf, not a pig. This made the wolf so angry that he said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." The wolf huffed and puffed, and he blew the house of scraps away. The first little pig ran as fast as he could to the house of his brother. Look at him, he's left there, and he's just holding on to that door. Aye! Soon the wolf came to the house of the second little pig. The wolf called out, little pig, let me come in." The second pig answered, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." The wolf gnashed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." And the wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house of glass to smithereens. So the two little pigs ran as fast as they could, and they went to the house of their brother. So the wolf came and he was like, "I'm gonna blow your house down." And he went, and the pigs went running. Finally, the wolf arrived at the house of the third little pig. The wolf growled at the door, little pig, let me come in." Uh-oh, it's gonna fall off. But the third little pig replied, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." This enraged the evil wolf, and he roared, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. So he huffed and puffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, but he couldn't budge the house of stone and concrete. The wolf said, "Little pig, meet me tomorrow morning at 7 at the farmer's rights, and I'll show you a fine tomato greenhouse." So he invited the pig to come? But the pig awoke at 6, so an hour before, picked the best tomatoes in the greenhouse, and was home slicing them for lunch by the time the wolf arrived. So he went, grabbed all the tomatoes, and came back. "I'll get you," said the wolf under his breath. So the pig outsmarted the wolf. The wolf returned to the third pig's house and said, "Little pig, meet me tomorrow morning at 6 at Farmer John's, and I'll show you an orchard full of tasty apples." The next morning at 5, the pig was picking the best apples in Farmer John's orchard. Then along came the wolf. "Good, aren't they?" said the wolf. "They certainly are," said the pig. "Here, try one." As the wolf chased the apple, the third pig ran home to his house of stone and concrete. So he threw an apple to trick the wolf, and he ran back to his house. That evening, the wolf went back to the third little pig's house and said, "I'll meet you at Frank's flea market tomorrow morning at 5. So the pig arrived at 4, and he was admiring a fine rug when he saw the wolf approaching. He hid himself in the rug and rolled the hill towards the wolf. The wolf sped away, with the rug following after him. The third pig returned home, where he and his brothers prepared a roaring fire in the fireplace and settled in front of it for the evening. So he found a rug, then he rolled it up and chased the wolf off. Tricked again, the wolf rushed to the third pig's house and said under his breath, "Little pig, I'll get you!" Ugh. The wolf climbed into the roof. So he climbs up, he gets in. The wolf climbed into the roof and shouted down the chimney, "I'm coming to get you!" But the wolf tumbled into the roaring fire, scorching his tail. So he went in, then he fell to the bottom, and the fire got him and burned him. The wolf ran from the house, smoking, screaming after him, and he was never seen in the forest again. The three little pigs ate a supper of tomato soup and apple pie, and they lived happily ever after. As for the wolf, well, who knows? I don't. And that's the end of that story. So let's look at that last picture, just to kind of look at it again. So, we have the three little pigs over here, and the wolf running away. But look at that cool house, the way it's made, and the shapes that you can see in the designs. So architecture is about building buildings. So we see the first pig, he built a building using scraps, and then the second brother built a house of glass, and then the third brother built a house of concrete and bricks. So each one built a unique house that are great for different purposes, and that's part of architecture, is to take something and we plan it and we build with it. So it's kind of like combining engineering and making houses. So architecture is very similar to engineering because it requires you to do math and to think and to calculate. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Click replay if you'd like to see it again. If not, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.